So I'm gonna be doing the video for weekly review number 5. I'm gonna get this information from my notes. And in the prompt, you told us to that we were able to put this information here from the steps of the AKT pathway, and I have them written down. And yeah, so we're gonna go over them first, and then we're gonna answer the questions from the prompt. So first, for the ligand binds to the receptor, the RTK. The RTK is activated through phosphorylation and it dimerizes. And sometimes the adapted protein binds to the receptor, but not all the time. So and after that, the PI3 kinase binds either the receptor and becomes adaptive, and the P13 kinase phosphorylates to the PIP2 and becomes the PIP3. Once the PIP3 is there, the PIP3 binds to the PDK1 and the PDK phosphorylates to the AKT, but it's not yet active. Once the AKT has the phosphate group, the AKT phosphate leaves the membrane, and the motor C2 comes in and phosphorylates the AKT, and that way the AKT becomes active because it has two phosphates. So for the first question you ask us what does it mean for the AKT? What does it mean that AKT is always active? So an always active AKT means that there's like always two phosphates attached to that AKT. And when we can see this is by using steps because it shows that after the first phosphorylation of AKT, where one phosphate binds to the AKT, then it did not become active, but then the motor C binds the other phosphate group into the AKT and makes it active. So yeah, and then the second question, it says, please explain how P21 levels would be affected in a cancer cell that had always be active AKT. So it says, so I'm gonna write down that the job of the P21 it's to control the cell cycle. We'll slow it down. And since we're slowing down the cell cycle because one of the process of AKT is to regulate also the cell cycle, so the AKT also regulates the cell cycle. And as an always active AKT constantly be regulating cell cycle, then this will decrease the amount of the P21 needed. So the P21 needed is going to decrease since the AKT is always active and will always be slowing down the cell cycle, always regulating it, always regulating. Since the P21 is always regulating, then it's no longer going to be needed since the AKT is going to be there. And for the third question, you said to explain the consequences and what's to each cell or to a cell in which AKT is going to be always active. And I said that a consequence is that the proteins, I'm going to write it down, the proteins involved in activating the AKT will not do their jobs because it's already always active. So basically the PDK1 and the motor C will always gonna be activating the AKT. Basically the cell's proteins, the proteins will never gonna be activating the AKT because the AKT is always active. So it's gonna be an increase of proteins in the cell. And yeah, thank you.